You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. And also, officers in Phoenix, Arizona, caught via their own body cameras discussing how they regret not committing any acts of police brutality on Black Lives Matter protesters during arrests in October. According to the Washington Post, 3 Arizona officers arrested 18 members of Black Lives Matter and stated that they were disappointed if they hadn't trampled the group and doused them in pepper spray. Arizona Police Chief Jeri Williams responded to the matter and called the officers' behavior disrespectful, adding their behavior threatened the police department's relationship with the community. It swore to protect and serve. She plans to take swift action in order to discipline the officers as she sees fit. At this time, the chief has not revealed what that discipline may look like. According to the Post, just hours after the body camera footage was released, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office announced that it would dismiss charges against 15 protesters who were arrested on October 17th. The protesters were facing a number of charges, including rioting, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and resisting arrest. Chief Williams says the department will undergo reform in order to prevent another incident like this one from taking place. So, what do you make of all of that, Gary? You got the lawsuit in L.A. County. You got the cops sitting here spreading around the image of George Floyd and take my breath away. And then here in Arizona, but I think, don't they keep saying these are just a few bad apples? It's amazing how you just keep having bad apple after bad apple just roll on out.
You know, the part of the quote that we never finish is a few bad apples spoil the bunch, right? That the whole bunch is probably bad because we never deal with the bad apples that are in there. And passively going along with racism and bigotry is the same as being an overt racist or a bigot. What did Dr. King say? He said, it is not the loud ones that he was concerned about, but the silence of his friends, right? The people who say that they support justice and equity and progress, who sit there and receive a text message like that and don't say this is unacceptable. It's the people who know that discrimination is happening when you're trying to force somebody to sell their business and sit in a room and not say something. It's all of the people along the way that sit and do nothing that allow us to get to these inflection points that we end up discussing because we won't deal with something when it is a small problem or when it is something that could be checked in a way that just lets people know, you know what, this is unacceptable. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's acceptable. And I'm not going to associate myself with you if that's how you believe. We don't believe in personal accountability, and therefore we don't have government accountability or workforce accountability or any of these things, because at the end of the day, it's people that run these organizations. And if people allow these things to passively exist, then they will continue to exist and perpetuate racism. The core of all of what you just talked about, Roland, is racism is alive and well in America.
Avis.
Absolutely. The reality is, you know, what other proof do we have to see? I mean, it's sad to say that this is not new. This is the type of racist behavior that we've seen out of these institutions forever. You know, what was the number of police officers, for example, that off-duty police officers that they believe participated in that insurrection? You know, how many times have we mentioned on this show about the fact that police organizations have been infiltrated by white supremacists? That's kind of clear. How many studies were done? I remember a couple of years ago about the Facebook activity of police officers across the country who were putting racist posts on their timelines, after which nothing substantially happened to most of these people who were engaged in these acts. The reality is that until these institutions start to take racism seriously and start eliminating these people, start firing these people, they are in essence condoning that behavior. And since they refuse to do it, the only logical assumption is they refuse to do anything about it because that's who they truly are.
Julianne.
You know, the interesting thing about the Phoenix case, Roland, is that the police chief is a woman, Jeri Williams. And these guys they want to go back to the good old days when they could F somebody up and there were no consequences. And they were going on and on about that. Their boss is a woman. In the good old days, you would not have had a woman police chief. So I'm wondering what she's thinking as she listens to this from her own employees. I'm wondering what she's thinking. But, you know, as Avis is right, the law enforcement has been out of control as long as there's been law enforcement. There have been people, especially Black people, but brown people. And in the South, they lynched a couple Jewish people. But there have been people who have been deemed unworthy of legal protection, more than unworthy of legal protection, basically worthy of contempt. So you see cases where, as an example, people are lynched because they had too much money. In one case, a brother was lynched. Then he went, he was lynched because what had happened was he tried to sell his cotton, and the man told him he had to take a lower price than a white man did. He used profanity. All he said was damn. But there was a law in the books in Arkansas that a Black person couldn't curse at a white person. So as soon as he left the store, they arrested him for cursing. Now the brother had it going on. He just went in his pocket and handed them the $15. That was bail. It was $15. A lot of money in 1919. He was at the sheriff's office. When he left the sheriff's office, they strung him up. And this is not an unusual story. This is a story of Black folks in America. And you're right, Gary, they always want to say, well, you know, one bad apple. But one bad apple spoils the bushel. And we know that there are bad apples. Some of them are above ground, but many of them are underground. The FBI did a study a couple of years ago that showed the connection between these white supremacists and law enforcement. They released the study, but of course, this was during that man's administration. Nobody did anything. But that data that's in that particular report is very useful to talk about these connections. And we know back in the day, post-Reconstruction, Klan members were the sheriffs.
Bottom line here is this here. We have a fundamental problem in this country when it comes to police. As long as you have people who are living in gross denial, you're not going to see the changes. And anybody out there who continues to suggest that, oh, defund the police is bad, you do know where you have examples where shifting the resources has made a huge deal. And also, by the way, all the people out here who keep saying that, oh my goodness, because of how cops are being treated is leading to massive retirements like in New York. Good. That means that new jobs are being made available.
Oh, with your bad self.
Works for me. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.